Welcome to a deep dive into a pressing issue often overshadowed by the glitz of booming Asian economies: homelessness. Behind the soaring skyscrapers and bustling markets lies a harsh reality for those struggling to keep a roof over their heads. Today, we'll explore key points that highlight the paradox of homelessness in developed Asian countries with rising economies. From skyrocketing property prices to inadequate social safety nets, we'll uncover the factors contributing to this crisis and examine the human cost of economic growth without social equity. Let's address the elephant in the room: the luxury penthouse overlooking a sea of cardboard boxes. Rapid urbanization in cities like Tokyo, Seoul, and Singapore has turned home ownership into a distant fantasy for many. Imagine working hard, only to find your salary barely covers the rent of a shoebox apartment. The demand for housing has skyrocketed, but wages haven't kept pace, leaving many struggling to stay afloat. It's like being stuck on a never-ending escalator going down, while the cost of living races up the one next to you. This disparity between income and housing costs is pushing lower-income residents to the fringes of society. Families are crammed into tiny, subdivided apartments, sharing kitchens and bathrooms with strangers. Elderly individuals live on the streets because their pensions can't cover the rent. The human cost of this housing crisis is staggering, and it's time we shine a light on this often ignored consequence of economic growth. The pursuit of economic growth should not come at the expense of basic human needs like shelter. A booming economy means nothing if a significant portion of the population can't even afford a place to live. You might think, these countries have impressive GDPs and robust growth rates. Surely everyone's benefiting from this economic boom, right? Well, not quite. High GDP doesn't always trickle down to the average citizen. It often pools at the top, creating a chasm of income inequality. CEOs earn hundreds of times more than their employees, while low-wage workers struggle to make ends meet. This disparity in income has a direct impact on housing affordability. When a significant portion of the population earns poverty-level wages, they're priced out of the housing market. Imagine trying to buy a house with a salary that barely covers your monthly ramen noodle expenses. Many low-wage workers in these booming economies are stuck in a vicious cycle of low wages, high living costs, and limited opportunities for upward mobility. This isn't just bad for individuals, it's bad for the economy as a whole. Addressing income inequality is crucial to tackling the housing crisis in these countries. It's not just about providing affordable housing, it's about creating an economic system that works for everyone. We need policies that promote fair wages, create job opportunities, and ensure that the benefits of economic growth are shared more equitably. You might think, surely these developed nations have robust social safety nets to catch those who fall through the cracks, right? Well, not exactly. While these countries may have social welfare programs, they're often inadequate to address the scale of the housing crisis. Imagine a safety net with more holes than net. The existing social welfare programs are often bogged down by bureaucratic hurdles, limited funding, and strict eligibility criteria. Long waiting lists for subsidized housing, meager financial assistance, and a lack of support for those facing eviction or homelessness are common. This lack of adequate social safety nets exacerbates the housing crisis and pushes vulnerable populations further into poverty. It's a classic case of too little, too late. And it's time for these governments to step up and provide meaningful support for their citizens. We need increased funding for social welfare programs, streamlined application processes, and a more compassionate approach to helping those in need. Social welfare should be recognized as a crucial investment in the well-being of society as a whole. The silent struggle: cultural stigmas and hidden homelessness. In many Asian cultures, there's a strong emphasis on family ties, self-reliance, and saving face. This can make it incredibly difficult for people experiencing homelessness to reach out for support. Many individuals struggle in silence, fearing judgment, shame, or burdening their loved ones. They may be sleeping on the streets, crashing on friends' couches, or living in overcrowded apartments, all while hiding their true living situation. This hidden homelessness is a silent crisis within a crisis, making it even more challenging to identify those in need and provide them with support. We need to break down the cultural stigmas surrounding homelessness and create a more compassionate and understanding society. This requires open conversations, public awareness campaigns, and a shift in societal attitudes towards poverty and homelessness. The graying of poverty, elderly homelessness on the rise. In countries like Japan and South Korea, aging populations face economic insecurity, limited support systems, and rising healthcare costs. This has led to a surge in elderly homelessness, a heartbreaking trend often overlooked. Many elderly individuals struggle to afford basic necessities in their golden years. Grandparents sleep on park benches, elderly couples rely on food banks, and a generation that built these booming economies is now being left behind. Economic progress means nothing if it doesn't translate into a dignified and secure life for all citizens, regardless of age. We need to prioritize the needs of our aging populations by strengthening social safety nets, expanding access to affordable housing, and providing adequate healthcare and support services. It's time to honor the contributions of our elders and ensure that they can age with dignity and security. Generation rent trap. Young adults and the housing squeeze. Many young adults are finding themselves priced out of the housing market, stuck in a cycle of renting and struggling to save for a future. Imagine graduating from university with a mountain of student debt, only to find that you can't even afford to rent a decent apartment. Sky-high rents and stagnant wages have created a generation trapped in financial insecurity. Young professionals live with roommates well into their 30s, couples delay marriage and starting families, and a generation fears they'll never achieve the same level of financial stability as their parents. This housing crisis among young adults impacts everything from career choices to mental health. We need policies that address the unique challenges faced by young people, including affordable housing initiatives, student loan forgiveness programs, and job creation schemes that provide living wages. It's time to invest in the future of these nations by ensuring that young people have a fighting chance to build a stable and prosperous life. Invisible hands, invisible burdens. The plight of foreign workers. Foreign workers play a vital role in many Asian economies, filling labor shortages and contributing to economic growth. However, they often face exploitation, discrimination, and limited access to social safety nets, making them particularly vulnerable to homelessness. Many foreign workers are subjected to poor working conditions, low wages, and inadequate housing. Construction workers live in cramped dormitories, domestic helpers sleep in their employers' kitchens, and a hidden underclass is denied basic human rights and dignity. This exploitation of foreign workers is a stain on the conscience of these booming economies. It's time to recognize their contributions, ensure their rights are protected, and provide them with access to decent housing and social services. Building a better future policy solutions for a housing crisis. We've explored the complexities of homelessness in booming Asian economies, from skyrocketing property prices to inadequate social safety nets. Now let's talk about solutions. This isn't an unsolvable problem, it's a matter of political will and a commitment to creating a more just and equitable society. We need a significant increase in the supply of affordable housing. This means investing in public housing projects, providing tax incentives for developers to build affordable units, and implementing rent control measures. We need to address the root causes of poverty and income inequality by raising the minimum wage, strengthening labor unions, and creating pathways for upward mobility. Reforming social safety nets to ensure they provide genuine support is crucial. This means expanding access to affordable healthcare, providing adequate unemployment benefits, and offering financial assistance to help families make ends meet. We need to challenge the cultural stigmas surrounding homelessness and create a more compassionate society. Promoting open dialogue, raising awareness, and providing accessible support services are key. Finally, we need to hold our elected officials accountable for addressing this crisis and use our voices and votes to create a more just and equitable society for all. Outro: a shared responsibility, building a more equitable future. Addressing homelessness in these rising economies requires inclusive policies that prioritize affordable housing, equitable wages, and stronger social welfare structures. A nation's prosperity should be measured not just by its economic output, but by the well-being of all its citizens. These countries have the potential to set new standards for balancing growth with social responsibility. By tackling homelessness head-on, they can demonstrate true leadership and create a more just and equitable world for all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Let's continue the conversation in the comments below and work together to find solutions to this pressing issue.